And then all are employees. Employees are coming here? No, no. No employees are coming. Any employee of physics coming here? No. 15 physics people are there only? Huh? Anybody you have come? Only one. Huh? Only one. So we have got instruction from the physics people. Take the life sciences. Life sciences will take one class. 35. So we move forward. YouTube is now working, so after the delay, we are able to start because of technical glitch now in the online. These things will keep on happening. So just 5-10 minutes. Last year also we did it online, only online mode. Here this is hybrid. So now formulating the research problem. So out of the research stages, this is what is the first step in your PhD means throughout. So definition. So what is the definition of a research problem? So how do you define it? So everything has a definition. We define research as well, huh? Last class, research, then motivation of research, then objective, and then how the different types of research we discussed, and how you define a research problem. So in research process, the first and the foremost step happens to be that of selecting and properly defining a research problem. So you have to define your research problem. So as they were telling, somebody told na, the magnetic properties of some oxides, semiconducting, ferroelectric properties of some other oxides, and so which oxides to which material to take means in case of condensed matter physics or material sciences or material chemistry, like that. In life sciences it would be different somewhat, huh? But you have to define the problem. This is what this class is all about. What is the problem, how you will select the problem, what are the strategies of selecting the problem, and which areas you should select. So UGC keeps a guideline so that the students before registering they have a prior idea key how I will go about defining the problem. But although in your cases the problem is somewhat defined, not completely, because you have got a broad topic in which you will work, huh? Any topic you cannot select, huh? So in that broad topic, so we will specify slowly. So how I explained yesterday that funneling, huh? So slowly you will evolve, huh? And you will specify and then find out the solution. So a researcher must find the problem. So it is your duty to find out a problem. You are the researcher, your PhD it is, and formulate it so that it becomes susceptible to research. Huh? Susceptible. So you can work on it. You cannot give some absurd ideas, right? Like what they say, like a medical doctor, a researcher must examine all the symptoms presented to him or observed by him concerning a problem before he can diagnose correctly. To define a problem correctly, researchers must know what a problem is. So that is why this class, what a problem is. So research problem, what is research problem? The term problem means question or issue to be examined. Problems, we face multiple problems in life. Every day we are facing some problem or the other. You are facing problem in hostel probably, or food, and now after you have joined. So what the most important problem for you must be the research problem, right? You should be concerned always with the research problem. Then the other problems will slowly think you will keep on minimizing. So the term problem means a question or issue that you will be examined, that you will examine. Research problem refers to some difficulty. Problem is a difficulty, a need which a researcher experiences in the context of either theoretical or practical situation and wants to obtain a solution for the same. There must be some objectives to be attained at. If one wants nothing, one cannot have a problem. There must be an alternative means for obtaining the objectives. Okay. There must remain some doubt in the mind of a researcher. So always that doubt will remain. See, somebody was asking, "Ye project, what this project is about? Sir, after project, see, some doubts will always be there for each and everything. It's not that you will get a complete clarity on everything and you will shot at it, huh? So that doubt is okay. You have to live with that doubt, huh? And it is good because a researcher should have always doubt, even, huh? mind of researcher with regard to the selection of alternatives. This means that research must answer the question concerning the relative efficiency of possible alternatives. So, suppose somebody is working in magnetic properties, as she told. So, magnetic property of what? Of some material. Which material? So, metal oxides. Which metal? So, slowly you will select some metal and then you will have a doubt. So, a metal, whether it will be good or it will not show some magnetic property. Then it comes, okay, what she told is a spinel oxide. Spinels. Spinels are, you know the general formula, chemistry and physics must be knowing, right? What is the general formula of spinels? Huh? AB2O4. So, and AbO3 is what? Perovskite. Huh? So, AB2O4. So, which will be the A and B which I will investigate during my research career? So, this is what the problem specific to one problem I am telling. So, this how we will decide which one. So, that doubt will always be there. Alternatives will be there, which alternative to choose. So with that doubts, what you have to do, that is given here. Does a research problem is one which requires a researcher to find out the best solution for a given problem, that is to find out by which course of action the objective can be attained optimally in the context of a given environment. So the objective is what? Magnetic properties, right? So you have to select which A and B will give me the best magnetic behavior, right? So this is what your objective should be. One who is concerned with the magnetic properties. Somebody who is concerned with some other properties, they will look for that. The first step in research problem, definition of the problem, involves two activities: identification, selection, and formulation of the problem. The research problem undertaken for the study must be carefully selected. The task is a difficult one, although it may not appear to be so. Help may be taken from, as we told you, research guide last day. So experienced people you have to go and discuss. I think that you all know, means during your project period also you have discussed with your guides, supervisors who have supervised you, sorry, what is the alternative, how to go about it, which one to select. So this is the thing which you have to always remain in mind, so that you have to always concern with the guide in this connection. A problem must spring from researcher's mind like a plant springing from his own seed. A research guide can at the most help a researcher choose a subject. Okay, so everything should come from the researcher mind. The research guide will be only a support like that. However, the following points may be observed by researcher in selecting a research problem or subject for research. Subject which is overdone. So what are the laws? Subject which is overdone should not be normally chosen, for it will be a difficult task to throw any new light in such a case. So for magnetic property, suppose spinels, what she told, suppose cobalt ferrite, CuFe2O3, O4, simple spinel, cobalt ferrite. So we will avoid choosing only that cobalt ferrite. Instead, what we will do, we'll try to dope or substitute in cobalt side, A side or B side, AB2O4. We'll try to substitute and then formulate the problem. We'll just not investigate something which is already studied, well studied. We'll try to part up that and see where the gap area is. So gap area is another term. Controversial subject should not become a choice of average researchers. Okay. So they are telling two terms: controversial subject and average researcher. So somebody who's too intelligent, okay, he or she can select a controversial subject because lot of in-depth knowledge and investigation is required to come out with a solution in some controversy where there is some controversy. So there are some dark areas in some topics. Too narrow or too vague problems should be avoided. Too narrow means just see, everybody was telling they have done, it's somewhat broader. Spinels for magnetic properties, right? So spinels is a huge. So AB2O4, a vast range of materials you can select. Okay, so that span will be very broad and you can investigate a very big, under that umbrella a very large amount of materials will come, so that it is not too narrow that your research will do not give you any solution. Okay, the subject selected for research should be familiar and feasible. Okay, definitely we are going with ferrites, cobalt and ferrites, which show magnetic properties. Some will not investigate non-magnetic material for some magnetic properties. Okay, like that. The importance of the subject, the qualifications and training of the researcher, the cost involved, the time factor are the few criteria that must be considered for selecting a problem. So these are general things what we should remember. The importance of the subject. First of all, magnetic materials are very important. This has widespread application. Here in this PC, what we are presenting, inherent there are materials inside. So important subjects, you have to choose whether it is important or not. The qualification, the training of the researcher. I am trained in life science. I cannot go and work on spinel oxides, right? So somebody who is trained in physics, he cannot work in life science. So this is for everybody, this class. So in general, how to say, somebody who is trained in whichever subject, he has to concentrate on that subject itself. Like the cost involved. Okay, my budget is this much and I overshoot. I think of dreaming a very big thing, then definitely there will be failure, because you cannot buy that. As soon as you go into the lab, you start purchasing, right? This chemicals and all those things. The time factor, you again, this is another concern. The time, it cannot be an infinite period. You have to complete your research within a definite time frame. So for that, what the researchers should do, ask the following question. What they say, whether a researcher must ask himself the following questions for these taken into account: whether she is well equipped in terms of background to carry out the research. Okay, there are some doubts whether he was telling, I am specialist in some area. Can I work in this? I told yes. You are a broad physics or chemistry person. You can work in any area. Don't think like that. You just have to spend some time with the literature. We will come in the next class, literature survey. Then you will become, because it's not going too deviated. It is within physics or within chemistry, so you can work with that within that time frame. So it's not that, yeah, my background is so specific that I cannot work in that area. My background is physics, my background is chemistry, or my background is life science, or my background is metallurgy. So I can work in corrosion. If my interest is there, I can work like that. Whether the study falls within the budget available. So budget is always a criteria which you have to think. You cannot propose some exotic materials which is very costly. As I told you, platinum. Platinum important material for catalysis. Last day I was telling, no, I thought I will come and not speak about catalysis. Otherwise, you will tell that sir is always telling about his own subject. So, platinum you cannot buy large quantities, right? Because if your budget is limited, you cannot spend a lot. So that is why atom economy is required. What I explained to you, single atom or good dispersion like that. Whether the necessary cooperation can be obtained from those who must participate in research as subjects. As she told, I told you, you prepared hafnium oxide. You told, no, we collaborated. So you have to take in mind that, okay, everything is not possible within the same lab. So collaboration is a part and parcel of today's research. Everybody of you, most of the people who you have come, you will collaborate with somebody for some help. So it's a cooperation by which the present scientific community is working. So huge number of collaboration. You go to other lab, you send your samples, or some sample comes from somebody. Like in physics, there are very good facilities here in DAE, and generally somebody who is doing small angle scattering. So they are concentrating on that aspect, the characterization aspect, and they are collaborating with a lot of people to find out the answers. So you have to think that whether I am proposing porous materials for my PhD, and whether I will get help from these small angle scattering people, okay, the physics people, because you have to go and always take the data from them, whether what is the porosity of my material. So like that. This is just one example. The selection of a problem must be preceded by a preliminary study. So definitely, if you join some project which has not been done previously in the past, you will face difficulties. Okay, that is for sure. Because first time when you are working, if there is no prior experience, there will be a problem. Okay, so to avoid that problem, some preliminary studies, feasibility, regarding the feasibility should be always there. If the subject for research is selected properly, the result will not be boring. In fact, just for work is a must. So the problem will such that I told you once about the intellectual satisfaction, right? Come and sit. So that will come only if you, during a problem statement itself, you are properly doing a literature survey, keep giving your brain and intellect to it, so that I get a good topic for doing a lot of investigation in it and get a solution for that. So this is what about research, selecting a research problem. What is the importance? So we'll roam around these things only. Yeah? Importance of defining the research problem. It says the direction and scope of the entire study. So once your research problem is fixed, you start. Your journey begins. So you and this whole scope keep comes. Okay, somebody who has defined, as she was telling, somebody who has already given in the title that spinels. So he or she cannot work on perovskite because in the title you have already given spinels. If you want to avoid that, what you have to do? You write metal oxides, right? In your title. So in the problem, you write metal oxides for magnetic properties. But once you give spinel, you cannot work on perovskites or pyrochlores. Inorganic chemistry classes are going on. Huh? I was taking previously till last year. So the structures are already over, the all type of structures. Fluoride and all those things have not been studied yet. Okay, they will come probably slowly. So like that. So during that time, the scope of your during definition of a problem, the scope will be already defined. So if you write metal oxides, can you go into something else? Lot of metal oxides will come. If you write already spinels, okay, it becomes very narrow. Only one category of material investigate. If you write cobalt, ferrite spinels, so you just have only nickel ferrite, cobalt ferrite, copper ferrite like that. So you are funneling, So you have to think, you have to have a trade-off. It should not be too broad, it not be too limited, so that you have a scope for research. It helps in formulating objectives and hypotheses. Okay. So the application part we are coming, magnetic properties. So whatever the correlation with iron content or cobalt content, how the magnetic property varies with nanoparticle, the shape and size of the nanoparticle, how the magnetic property will vary. So that type of hypothesis you will propose, right? It prevents ambiguity and confusion later in research process. So later on you will not repent. Initially, if you have thought, okay, I will write metal oxide, later on you will be clear, at that 4 years back, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years back, I decided correctly because I have a wide spectrum of study that I have carried. It ensures that research is feasible, relevant, and focused. So something which is feasible, magnetic property you can study if you have a proper equipment. You cannot do something which is not feasible in your lab. Relevant and focused. Poorly defined problems often leads to ineffective research design, irrelevant data, and inconclusive findings. So research problem is very important. So this is why the necessity of defining the problem. Quite often we all hear that a problem clearly stated is a problem half solved. This is what they are telling, that a problem which is clearly stated, that is half solved. So already your PhD is half solved because already you have a problem, right? So that is right. In fact, you have a well-defined problem, you will not face hurdles ahead. This is what. So carefully select your problem. This statement signifies the need for defining a research problem. The problem to be investigated must be defined unambiguously. For that, will help you discriminate relevant data from irrelevant ones. A proper definition of research problem will enable the researcher to be on track, whereas an ill-defined problem may create hurdles. Questions should be asked like, what questions? What data are to be collected? Okay, these are the questions. What data are to be collected? What characteristics of data are relevant and need to be studied? What relations are to be explored? What techniques are to be used for this purpose? Okay, the research methods. And similar other questions crop up in the mind of researcher who can plan his strategy and finds answer to all questions. Thus, defining a research problem properly is a prerequisite for any study and is a step of highest importance. So they say that अरे सिर्फ प्रॉब्लम ही, अभी तो काम करना है, सिर्फ प्रॉब्लम डिफाइन करके क्या होगा? नहीं, द प्रॉब्लम itself, if you define it correctly, it is half solved. What the research methodology says. Okay, this is from book. So, right now we take a break. Break means not we'll have a class, but not go in. We'll go to the PPT. So what I did to make this class interesting, what I just went to the HBNI website, and in the HBNI website there is a list of theses that have come out. So since every day I was discussing about my problems, and I thought, no, I will take other problems as well. So there is a list of PhD. You can see my PhD. There will be the first page itself, but that is very old, 2012. So I went to the last page. There I saw 29 pages of 100 PhDs each. So many PhDs have already been covered under HBNI. And I took the print of the last page. So there are PhDs submitted from, which is already submitted, an awarded degree, from physics, chemistry, engineering, life sciences. So we will discuss about the how they have selected the problem, and what is the problem like. So first, in this last page, the first problem which I see is from physics. So the physics people, for you, the study of proton-induced reactions on erbium isotopes. Okay, like that. The thesis is somebody has already submitted this. The work is over. So during selection, what? During problem selection, see such a, so this, do you think it is broad? No, isn't it? Because he has already defined one type of isotopes, and already defined that proton-induced reaction means proton, P and P gum. You know, na, those time nuclear reactions has been studied. You have all studied physics at least. So he was so confident during this proposal that okay, I will study only about this isotope and these proton-induced reactions. So here, well, first, what is the importance of this subject? A lot of importance, because erbium has a strategic material. Okay, so this is used in many various application, nuclear in as well as radionuclides, as well as material which is used in nuclear reactors as well. So that is why it is strategic. So he has selected something which is comes under applied research, not fundamental. Okay, and studied the proton-induced reaction. So under radioactive conditions, if you do some kind of nuclear reactions, so what will be the outcome? So definitely, while proposing, he has a we can say that has a proton source, right? Because proton-induced reactions he is telling. So somewhere he must be having some, so like in Dhruva, definitely in physics, some of you will be working in Dhruva, where you have a neutron source, right? Isn't it? So neutron scattering, like that, you will be doing, and other processes, neutron induced. So, but here he is proton induced. So he must be having that idea. So what all he thought? Why he chose erbium? Okay, because that is an important material related to the, and there is a scope. So that is applied, lot of scope. He has, it's feasible, and also cost competitive. So all these questions, whatever we told, whatever we discussed, all this he must have, or he, in discussion with his guide, he must have thought and then proposed it. And finally, a PhD has already been approved, means submitted and approved, right? He has got the degree. He or she, whoever, I don't know. I have not concerned with the name. I just came out with the title. Next physics title is Synthesis and Characterization of Assembled Nanostructures for Surface Enhanced Raman Scattering and Electrochemistry Application. So definitely you can see synthesis and characterization of assembled nanostructure. See, he's not writing specific material. Okay, so keeping here the scope is very broad. Previous one was only erbium, right? Only one material. The scope was limited, but he had a proton source, right? So from the physical point, he knew, okay, with that I will be able to do a lot of studies. Here, the material is kept broad. Assembled nanostructures means huge. He's not giving any metal oxide or anything, polymers or whatever. So self-assembled nanostructures means a very broad area. And then for that, surface enhanced Raman scattering. Specific, the candidate is writing, who has completed already. Surface enhanced Raman scattering means definitely that equipment, he must be having access to it. Then only will mention, right, in your problem. So there is a lot of scope because the material is quite broad, and you have a specific equipment which is feasible, you have proposed in your title. And electrochemistry applications means definitely there must be some potentiostat. You know potentiostat, na? Which is available so that we can do electrochemical. The next thesis which I see is synthesis and characterization of metal nanostructures. Metal, for application in direct alcohol fuel cell. You know direct alcohol fuel cell? Anybody has heard? Somebody? Energy science, who was energy? Energy, you have heard of direct alcohol fuel cell? No? So it's fuel cell you have heard? Fuel cell, what does a fuel cell do? Fuel cell pata hai na? Means fuel. Fuel means, you know, fuel everybody knows. So fuel cell means a cell which uses a fuel to generate electricity. That is a fuel cell. Simple. So here he is talking about direct alcohol fuel cell. So a fuel cell where the fuel is alcohol. How we will get alcohol? What is uh, huh? By ferment. So it's a biomass. So broadly, it is categorized as a from alcohols. Lot of alcohols can be created from biomass. Huh? Sugar cane bagasse. Right now there is mixing. Have you heard the controversy of mixing alcohol with? Huh? Uh, so that everybody is aware. So 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 it's a fuel. So alcohol is mixed. So ethanol they are mixing with petrol, and then there was a problem with some engine, and then it is in uh, under laws what will happen, whether the manufacturer will fix it or not, because the manufacturer says, well, I told only that we will use petrol, it is not under ethanol. Okay, that is a separate topic, we'll not use, but ethanol is a fuel, and you can create it means at a much cheaper price, and it is one of the alternative for the octane content means petrol say it's one of the easier alternative. The carbon content is lower, only 2 carbon, right, in the instead of, so more energy, C by H ratio they say, from that it is enriched. From the environment point of view, it is somewhat better, not completely CO2 free, but somewhat better than, so like that. And you can create from biomass. Biomass means the mass which is created from the biological sources. Okay, वो waste ही होता है, means otherwise. See, in training school there is a Nisarguna plant. Have you seen? Just beside this, if you go outside, there is a plant which is a Nisarguna plant where the biomass, food materials, those are treated. Biology people should know, na? So they have, so they generate the gas, and with gas cooking is taking place in TSH, training school hostel. Huh? Like that biomass, you can generate alcohols. So that is a renewable source biomass. So that alcohol, if you use in a fuel cell, means if you feed that alcohol, say suppose ethanol, fuel cell means again an electrochemical cell. Two electrodes will be there. An anode will be there and a cathode. Anode is oxidation, cathode is reduction. So in anode, they will all oxidize this alcohol to CO2, and proton will be produced. Have you heard of proton exchange membrane? Huh? Studied that proton will transfer to the solid electrolyte. The example of proton exchange membrane, anybody know? Nafion. So that proton will transfer. So that is an engineering problem, in fact, that electrolyzer. So the proton will transfer from the alcohol from one compartment, from the anode compartment to cathode compartment. Another cathode compartment, what will take place? Hydrogen reduction will take place like that. So due to this electrical means chemical reaction, electricity will be generated. And that electricity in a fuel cell, whatever, in general fuel cell, hydrogen is sent and hydrogen is oxidized, it generates water, and we get electricity. For alcohol fuel cell, we send alcohol, and from that alcohol, chemical reaction take place and it generates electricity. Simple as that. So that type of, for food, they are proposing metal nanoparticles for those kind of alcohol fuel cells. So they must be using, they are using the same what we told you, that platinum, palladium, iridium, ruthenium, or other nanoparticles for as a electrocatalyst on the coatings of these electrolyzers. Okay, so this is what is done, and you can generate electricity. And what this investigation will be, okay, we will change the content, the type, the size, the shape, and all those support, a wide variety of studies you can do on those electrocatalyst type, and study the cell performance, the fuel cell performance. On the feed alcohol, you get the electricity. Which material is giving better electricity? Because that fuel cell current is limited by two types of things. One is thermodynamics and one is kinetics. So the kinetics, you are improving at those electrodes, positive means anode and cathode, and you are increasing the rate of the reaction and getting a more efficient fuel cell. So that correlation, this thesis might have done. I have no idea. So that I was not present in the thesis. So they must have done. So they have the scope, huge scope, because that is directly a good scale problem, and they are these fuel cells are of huge demand right now. In future, it will be of more demand. Then we come to engineering, because there are some engineering people. So engineering sciences, engineering, the one is there, synthesis and application studies of Ti3 AlC2 phase material. You know what is this? Metallurgy, who is metallurgy? हाँ यहाँ उसको दिखा रहा है हाँ. What is this material? Ti3Al2. Superalloys. Huh? And if you do C2, it forms which phase? Metallurgy. Another metallurgy is there at the back. ये बीच में बैठ के दोनों को दिखाते हैं. So this is forms a max phase. Huh? Max phase you have heard, you have studied. Max phase you have not studied. So this is an interesting phase, very important because it has, see, corrosion, anti-corrosion property, good electrical property, all these properties from the point of view of alloys, improve properties. Huh? You just take one of the property, they must be doing some property enhancement in max phase. So by some means. So whatever you will, similar studies they will be doing. And max phase is a precursor for one important class of material. You know, have chemistry somebody heard of it? Amexine, you have anybody heard? Amexine? No? Mexine, huh? Suna? Oh, somebody told, huh? So that is the, this max phase is the precursor for amexine. So from this max phase, you get these amexines, which are energy related materials. Okay, they have huge applications because they are used in batteries and conducting materials, good conductivity, and many multi-purpose materials. So like that. Again, we'll go on the next engineering thing. Let me search. Separation of fission products from electro-refiner's spent salt. Okay. So they are mentioning fission products. So whole scope they are keeping it open. Pura. It's not that one or two. So definitely he will get the electro-refiner's spent salt, definitely. And he whatever study he will do, it will come under this his thesis. Okay. Life sciences, I have no idea, but we'll do next day. Chemistry, we'll end up with one problem, adsorption of ruthenium on carbon-based nanomaterials. Adsorption of ruthenium on carbon-based nanomaterials. So, carbon-based nanomaterials, what are, you can name some carbon-based nanomaterials? Graphene, graphene and carbon nanotubes. So these are all carbon-based nanomaterials. Why somebody from D is concerned with adsorption of ruthenium? Can anybody tell? Nuclear spent fuel. Some ruthenium is there in the, as I told you, as fission product. Sometimes some ruthenium can come. Okay, this study will deal with these graphenes and probably, I have no idea. Means again, this is that's the title. So how much ruthenium these carbon materials can absorb? Okay, so adsorption study. So you must have studied this graphene, carbon nanotubes, or modifying this. How much ruthenium they will be able to absorb. So that will be directly relevant. So applicability is huge for our department, right? And then a huge scope also. You will be dealing with important materials like graphene, carbon nanotubes, and also you learn the techniques, adsorption techniques, and data of adsorption data. He or she will be able to collect that. He must have thought. And last chemistry related, last thesis which is approved is written there: metal-free approaches towards CN-CO bond formation. Metal-free approaches for CN and CO bond formation. So definitely, I could not look out what is the application. So definitely, a very big fundamental problem must be there. Okay, so we leave it upon here, and we again go to the problem classes. Okay. So what are the techniques which you will think of in defining your problem? So what you should be thinking? No, 3:20. So 5 minutes, we'll just list the techniques and then we'll come back again in the next class. So what are the techniques which you will involve in defining a research problem? So we took some ideas. We will discuss with those ideas. So for some engineering, some physics, some chemistry, no life science. Next day. So the technique for the purpose involves the undertaking of the following steps, generally one after the other. So what the suggestion is that research methodology suggests that statement of the problem in a general way. You will first make a statement of whatever you want to study in a very general and broad way. Okay, very general way. First step. And then what you will do? Then you will go and understand the nature of the problem. First, you have created a broad problem. See, somebody who did with RBM, he must have studied broadly some metal and nuclear reactions. Then he went on definitely for understanding the nature of the problem. What are the scope, which radioisotope to choose, what it should be neutron source or proton source or gamma source, surveying the available literature. Then he sat and surveyed the available literature. Okay. See, somebody who is dealing with metal nanoparticles. So he surveyed the literature. See, which fuel cells will use? Will you use a hydrogen fuel cell or direct methanol fuel cell or direct alcohol fuel cell, ethanol? So what type of fuel cell we will discuss. So definitely, so he or she understood the problem, surveyed the literature, and developed the ideas through discussions. Then he sat and with the supervisor, he's a guide, and they also with the lab mates who has already prior the seniors who have already prior expertise in the field. So what they will help you about the whatever the questions with for answer, the feasibility, the cost, the scope, all those you will able to do during this discussion and literature survey. And you will identify what are the gap areas where the study is not completely done. See, somebody who has mentioned metal nanoparticles, definitely metal nanoparticles is a very broad thing, right? Definitely, lot of work is done on platinum carbon and all those types of electrocatalysts. Then why he has proposed like that? They have identified some gap areas, how to decrease the platinum content, how to change the support and get the fuel cell characteristics like that. Why? How can we optimize the fuel cell performance? We optimizing the platinum content, minimize, so that we come up at the end of the project, by end of the thesis, what I told, we should come with a product which is applicable or a theory, isn't it? Or a generalize something. And then what he or she does, he sits and rephrase the research problem into a working proposition. So initially it will be broad, and then slowly by discussion, by going through the literature, you have to rephrase the problem. You have to funnel out and you have to select what is important or not. So, okay, we'll come back after 5 minutes. 5 minutes, we come back. Two classes are there. You have to complete. Huh? Hmm. लेना ही पड़ेगा हाँ on demand huh. No, see, you have to teach me then huh? What is done. This is interesting huh? Molecular studies means see, chemistry involved huh? So on chemo prevention using polymeric black tea polyphenols on experimental lung carcinogenesis huh? Oh, huh? Therapeutics huh? And they done it from green tea extract huh? Black tea extract, polyphenol. So polyphenols again is chemistry huh? Biochemistry और लाइफ साइंस में हाँ mostly genetic and molecular characterization again molecules are coming huh? Of large seed mutant in groundnut seed mutant some projects are there in mutant plant uh, plant molecular biology वैसे रहेगा molecular studies on molecule everybody is using in life science huh? Molecular studies on interaction between FTSK and tyrosine recombinases in some something here. Life science people, you have got your projects huh? When they are going to be next week बस पहले लेके भी फायदा नहीं केमिस्ट्री दे हैव गॉट सो मच बट दे कैन नॉट विजिट आल्सो लैब आई कार्ड वे आई आई कार्ड हो गया नहीं व्हेन दे विल गिव यू आई कार्ड नेक्स्ट वीक लाइफ साइंस में कम है देखो लास्ट पेज में और एक है characterization of leaf development mutant and its response to salt stress in chickpeas. So like that. Hmm. So there is one division plant ke liye, huh? So they are doing lot of things. But again, we come back to research methodology because we have to. These classes are meant for that. Huh? Research methodology. It's very uh, broad topic. And this first problem statement, what you have to do, you have to select the problem in a broader way initially. Initially, what everybody has to do is has to have a very big, broad, as I do anything. It's the same thing we are going to learn. Means that effect of funnel. That the statement of the problem in a general way. First of all, the problem should be stated in a broad, general way, keeping in view either some practical concern some that broad part will contain some practical concern or some scientific or intellectual interest some scientific part and some intellectual part will be there so the see all the projects which you saw as we discussed during our previous three classes and whatever projects HBNI is submitted most of them are dealing with some practical concern okay that you have to agree these are applied huh? But along with that there is a scientific query or intellectual interest is hidden behind so that okay that practical concern can be combined with that scientific query and we land up with a theory or some good product like that the problem stated in a broad general way may contain various ambiguities so initially there will be errors and ambiguities but don't think about that huh? You go ahead with ambiguities also you propose it and also discussion with your supervisors or guide or lab mates you tell whatever you think from your understanding let there be errors but slowly those errors will be cut off as you discuss and as you go ahead with your literature survey various which must be resolved by cool thinking and rethinking over the problem at the same time the feasibility of a particular solution has to be considered and the same time shame should be kept in view while stating the problem so feasibility wise also should be thought, huh? Whether it is feasible I can sell something very big but at the end of the day because it is not feasible, because I am not having that equipment or some other restrictions is there, it is not. And also cost, which we discussed later on earlier. Often the guide puts forth the problem in general terms. Okay, so all of you have got some general topics from your guide, huh? This is more general, huh? Like nanoparticles, metal nanoparticles, or uh, oxides, or hydro means like that, catalyst or electrocatalyst, or metal organic frameworks, like that, broad. But which one, that you have to decide. Okay. Often the guide puts forth the problem in general terms, and it is then up to the researcher to narrow it down and phrase the problem in operational terms. In case there is some directive from an organizational authority, the problem then can be stated accordingly. So there are bindings, as I told you. So here also this organization has some mandates. So we work on those problems, on those topics. We do not deviate from that. So this is what. And then what you have to do, understand the nature of the problem. The next step in defining the problem is to understand its origin and nature clearly. The best way of understanding problem is to discuss it with those who first raised it, in order to find out how the problem originally came about and with what objectives in view. Okay. So again come, I thought that I will did not discuss my problem, but we come back. See, electrolysis, I told you that it was discovered in probably 1800 something, huh? So it's long back, more than 200 years back it is discovered. But still people are doing extensive research, not only research, right? You will agree. I was speaking with one engineering student. So electrolyzers are still dealt with, very important, because these are modern, right? Previous also, so I will tell you that previously also, 200 years back, we had classrooms, but the classrooms are not like this, huh? That it will be AC, full of LED lights, and nice chairs, and I'll be taking classes online and offline. We have never thought of. So with time, what happens? We advance, huh? Like that, the electrolyzer technology has also advanced. So zero gap, the PEM, those are known as zero gap. So the electrolyzer efficiency is dependent on the distance between the electrodes, right? There are two electrodes, anode and cathode, for any electrolysis or any electrochemical phenomenon. If you decrease the distance between them, the resistance will drop. So the efficiency, the current will increase. Huh? So those PEM, those proton exchange membrane based electrolyzers, are known as zero gap, because between the two electrodes only a proton exchange membrane, or naphion, what he was telling, is in between. So like that. So you have to understand, and you have to understand the origin also. So it is dated 200 years back. How the things have evolved, that you try to understand. So to 300 years, what has happened, that, and why here we are now, and why again it has a renewed interest. Okay, because of alternative energy, energy science. Energy science is important. In IIT Bombay, there is a department also, energy science and engineering, and environmental science, like that. So, madam, already you have signed and given. Uh-huh. So, uh, the best way of understanding problem is discuss with those who first raised it, in order to find out the view. If the researcher has stated the problem himself, he should consider once again all those points that induced him to take a general statement concerning the problem. And then comes surveying the available literature, which is our next class. Okay. So literature survey is an important part, integral part of your research career. And you should keep in mind that always you should do a very good literature survey. And sometimes, because of lack of time, sometimes even the guides are not able to uh, do a proper literature survey. Then the student comes ahead with a proper survey and tells the dark areas. So, sir, ma'am, look into this. These are the areas where we can work, because this there is a controversy in here, or there is a gap area in here, and so that will be helpful. Okay. All available literature concerning the problem at hand must be necessarily be surveyed and examined before a definition of the research problem is given. This means that the researchers must be well conversant with the relevant theories in the fields, reports, and records. He must devote sufficient time, this is in dark, in reviewing of research already undertaken on related problems. So why literature survey is important? That we'll do later, but you have to devote your time for literature survey. That is clear. After you join, I would suggest you, instead of waiting for you to join, whatever topics you will, each of you will undertake, start reading the literature, because you have library are available for operational purposes. Knowing what data are available often serves to narrow the problem itself, okay, as well as a technique that might be used. So, say for example, these ferrites, what somebody told, these they have worked on magnetic ferrites, spinel ferrites, spinel oxides. So one of the thing among the spinel oxides is the ferrite. So cobalt ferrite, CuFe2O4. Hmm. CuFe2O4. You have heard about chemistry and physics. They must be knowing about normal spinel and inverse spinel, right? So among this A and B, which is a normal spinel and which one? So normal and inverse spinel, they depend upon the distribution of this A and B among the holes, right? What are the two types of holes available? Octahedral and tetrahedral holes. So how they are spread between A and B? Can you tell? So that you have to identify during your research process. So for that you have to know the literature, by which method they are identifying how much cobalt is in A side or how much cobalt is in B side, how much iron is in A side, how much iron is in B side. Because generally when you prepare these spinels in your lab by soft techniques like liquid techniques, if you do a solid state method like people doing hardcore physics in solid state physics and in condensed matter physics, they will try to prepare a perfect spinel. If it is inverse, inverse. If it is normal, normal. But sometimes in solution chemistry, you end up with a mixed spinel. So some part of cobalt will occupy both the sides, some part of iron will occupy both the sides. So you have to identify the technique by which you will come to know that how much cobalt is in A and B side, how much iron is in A and B side. Okay, that you have to understand. And how you will understand that? With the help of literature, discussion with your guide, isn't it? So this is how you will do. Because you are from academics, you are now, although you have done projects and understand a lot, but still you'll be shifting completely to experimental or theoretical work. Okay. This would also help a researcher to know if there are certain gaps in theories or whether their existing theories attributable to problem understudy are inconsistent with each other. So somebody has told that, okay, cobalt 60% is going into A, 40% is going into B, like that. But you can prepare a material with the reverse thing. So whether you can do, that is possible. All this will enable a researcher to take new strides in the field for furtherance of knowledge. That is, he can move up starting from the existing premise. So this is what we are telling about it. Developing ideas through discussion. So first you do, so what are the techniques you follow? First you state the problem in general, then understand yourself, survey the literature, developing the idea through discussion with experts, okay, in the field. Discussion concerning problem often produces useful information, because see, when I have I have found that in my career that, okay, my thought process is in one way. When I am teaching this course, I will teach from one angle. If somebody else is coming, they will teach in some other way. The perspective varies and the methodology also varies. And you as a student, how you will benefit? So when you come to teach, if you have taken classes from 2-3 people, you will have multiple perspective, and their discussion will help you to give a better picture than each one of this, right? So that is how discussion helps. Don't skip discussion. If your guide is not able to give time, नहीं नहीं sir, आपको समझाना पड़ेगा, आप थोड़ा time दीजिए. So you have to sit and discuss with them and then take the decision. Okay. Rephrasing the research problem. Finally, after all those 4 steps, we rephrase the problem. How you rephrase the problem? Finally, the researcher must seek to rephrase the research problem into working propositions. Once the nature of the problem has been clearly understood, the environment has been defined, discussion over the problem has been taking place, and the available literature has been surveyed. So you have done all the 4 things. Then the rephrasing the problem into analytical or operational task is not a difficult one. So just by doing this, you will be able to propose a very operational and feasible and analytical research problem. Through rephrasing, the researcher puts the research problem in as specific as possible so that it may become operationally viable and may help in development of working hypothesis. This is what is all about research problem. Okay. The following parts also we observed while defining a research problem. Technical terms and words or phrases with special meanings used in statement of the problem should be clearly defined. See, some type of abbreviations we should not use in the titles or the problem because it is for the general audience, right? Like in electrolyzers, what you were telling, na? In these PEM-based electrolyzers, they use the term MEA. You know MEA? What is MEA? So it is, so we don't know, although we have worked in electrode, because MEA is membrane electrode assembly. So whatever I was telling, the zero gap, so the two electrode at the membrane, they will form a single assembly. So those MEA are used in titles also. So we will avoid such jargons and instead clearly define the technical terms. So the technical terms should be defined whatever is used in scientific knowledge, and also try to avoid abbreviations. Like technical terms are words or phrases with special meaning used in the statement of the problem should be clearly defined. Okay, so that it is for the general audience, everybody can see, can understand. So the life science, I spoke about 3 4 problems. One or two I can understand everything, the title only. But one or two, even the title contains something which I am not able to pick up. Well, no, only specialized people can tell. So basic assumptions or postulates, if any, relating to the research problem should be clearly stated. A straightforward statement of the value of the investigation should be provided. The suitability of the time period and the sources of data available must also be considered by the researcher in defining the problem. The time period is very important part of inherent part of your research problem. So you cannot go on for a lengthy time periods investigation. The scope of the investigation, scope is very important. What comes under my research problem, and the limits, the boundary where I will not go beyond. So sometimes what we want to do research, we will see. So you get secondary interest. You start getting secondary. I have developed this material for magnetic purpose, but it is showing some electrical properties as well. So we keep on debating, huh? So you have to set boundaries. Okay, I will limit my study into my applications only. The scope of the investigation or the limit. So my scope is magnetism, and limit is magnetism. I will not go or something else, some electrical properties, not go beyond that. Catalytic properties में नहीं जाएंगे, like that. Or the limits within which the problem is to be studied must be mentioned explicitly in defining a research problem. So these are the points also to be considered. And conclusion, we may conclude by saying that the task of defining a research problem very often follows a sequential pattern. So what is the sequential problem? As we discussed, the problem. So if you listen to the class, during writing the answers, you will be able to reply, because I am telling so many times. Because you are already, as I told you, all doing so many basic classes, fundamental classes. So already you have limited time. But first, you state the problem in the general way. What are the techniques? The state the problem in general way. Then ambiguities are resolved. Thinking and rethinking the process result in more specific formulation, so that it may be realistic one in terms of available data and resources, and also analytically meaningful. All this results in a well-defined research problem that is not only meaningful from an operational point of view, but is equally capable of paving the way for the development of working hypothesis and for means of solving the problem itself. So then we go into assignment, means mention the techniques of defining a research problem. So we already discussed, huh? We will again discuss in the last class all these assignments and their out means their answers. So this is what the techniques are. 5 techniques. Okay, statement of the problem in a general way. You write some thing about that, whatever you can remember. So you state the problem in a general way, broad, with practical concerns, some scientific interest. Then understanding the nature of the problem. Then the researcher will try to understand the nature of the problem. Okay, this is the work of the researcher. Then the researcher will survey the available literature. Then the researcher will discuss with the problem with peers, experts, guide, and in the field. And then finally, the researcher will sit down and rephrase the problem to a working proposition. Okay, this is what is all about. What is the necessity of defining the research problem? So I discussed the necessity of defining the research problem. This, quite often we all hear that the problem clearly stated is a problem half solved. This statement signifies the need for defining a research problem. The problem to investigate must be defined unambiguously. For that, will help to discriminate relevant data from irrelevant ones. So somebody who is doing in magnetic property, electrical property is irrelevant for that thesis, right? Okay. But you can do for your secondary interest and you can publish a paper, not an issue. But in thesis, it doesn't go. So proper definition of research problem will enable the researcher to be on track, whereas an ill-defined problem may create hurdles. Questions like what data to be collected. So we just mentioned spinel oxide for multiple applications. If you do that, you keep on shifting. At the end, you will not convert somewhere. But for one application, you will convert somewhere like that. If you don't define spinels, okay, then you just mention metal oxides. At least you mention in the title, but during your investigation, you concentrate on one type of metal oxide and related things. So this is what questions like what data are to be collected, what characteristics of data are relevant and need to be studied, what relations are to be explored, what techniques are to be used. So there should be clear. This is the necessity of the problem, and then write short down components of research problems. So and rephrasing the research problem. State the points to be considered while selecting a research problem. So we will consider all these points one or yeah. So this is what we'll go into the next lecture, Uh, as much as we can do, something we start. So after you have defined the problem, actually during definition of the problem only you have to do is that we have completed this green part, means defining the formulating the research problem, and then we'll go into this. Okay, let literature survey. What is literature survey? So literature survey is the next part of your research stage. Although, as I told, during the research stage or research process, nothing is uh, is bordered by a district boundary. They are interrelated. So it's not that once you have done and stated your problem or research or literature survey एक बार हो गया और नहीं करेंगे ऐसा नहीं. You have to continuously do it. So you come back and forth like that. So now you go into extensive literature survey. So review of literature. Literature review. So what is a literature review? First is literature review, and then I will speak how you can do a literature review. That we will do in next class. First, in this class, uh, what is a literature review? Okay, for a research worker enrolled for a PhD degree, it is often required to write, present a synopsis, proposal of the topic, and submit to the necessary committee or research board for approval. So this is what the first step. What we have to do, at least I think you have to do. What the employees who are already done. So he has to go and present that okay, this is my research problem. So what is the background? So they will investigate whether the problem is relevant one. Okay, means the background is what it is. The problem is required to be done or not required. So that is the first criteria. And second, as we did, huh, hmm, whether the problem is feasible, whether you can do it or not, and how important is the problem, and so on. Whether it is specific to the mandate of the department, all those things will be considered because we are under an organization, isn't it? So all those answers you have already given. So he has coming from Brit AERB, right? So he has already done. So at this juncture, so when you go and present, the researcher should undertake extensive literature survey connected with the problem because you have to convince the committee. The committee comprising of various experts in the field, very senior people, okay, of Homi Bhabha National Institute. So there is a board of science. I think life science, physical science, chemical science, all have some board. So you have to go and present. I don't know for you whether it will be there or not because already the topic is coming. For this purpose, the abstracting and indexing journals and published or unpublished bibliographies are first place to go to. So first place where you will go is the abstracting and index journals. So what are index journals? Papers, research papers, uh, which are considered relevant and which has some respect, right? So those are indexed by some agencies like Scopus Index. Have you heard now? Scopus Index, like those. So Clarivate gives the impact factors like those. Academic journals, conference proceedings, government reports. So what are the different types? So these you have to know at least for this research methodology that what are the different types of uh, references or what are the different types of literature which are available here. So what are the different types of literatures available? One is academic journals. Okay, first is academic journals, then conference proceedings. So you all will attend conference every year. Huh? You have specific, I think, budget also for conference, right? Conference. So you will go to conference. So that is a good time to means interact with other people who is in the same field. Also, you will meet several experts from here in India, as well as if it is an international conference, many people from abroad will come. So you can discuss at that time your research area, and as I told you, during this discussion, you can create a rapport, and then you can apply with them for postdocs and so on. So those are good platforms where you can exchange ideas and go interact and meet with people from or experts in your field. So conference, they publish a proceedings as well. Okay, so whatever you are presenting, so every conference publishes a proceeding. So those you can refer. Government reports. So BRC, this is a government institute. So BRC also publishes reports. So if you go to BRC website, you have BRC newsletter. Have you ever heard? They have heard only. So BRC newsletter, they publishes whatever work is going on BRC. Okay, some of the achievements of BRC. So you can refer those. So this is about our institute. Other people have other institutions have other reports. Books. So definitely books one has to see for um, magnetism. I think many books are there for ferroelectrics. Books are there. Basics. You have to understand the basic, right? Whatever field you are working, application as well as the material properties or characterization. So there, if for a material scientist, there will be for physics or chemistry, whoever it is. So they will prepare a material. So there will be books available on synthesis protocols. How we will prepare the material. So you can refer them and think of proposing some interesting or attracting synthesis methods which gives good results. So those will be available in books. In books, details will be there, fundamentals, how the material is prepared. And then there will be separate book for characterization. Okay, material characterization books. You go and search in internet, so many books will come. Those will some are available in library. Books, they are not available online, although journals mostly are available online. Books, many are available, not are some are not purchased by BRC like that. So again, for application, so as we discuss fuel cells, you will find books specifically written for fuel cells. So as I told you, this anode reaction, this cathode reaction, how we will come to know? Books, they will discuss more on the fundamental instead of academic journal. Academic journals, what they will do? Suppose you will publish a journal, so you will only be concerned with what? You will concern with the work you are undertaking. You will give a background in the introduction and your work. But books will give a general idea about all the whole processes. So for fuel cell, there is a book available in library. I also referred a very nice book for fuel cells specifically. What are the different issues for a fuel cells? It's not only that fuel cells is only dealing with what I discussed during the listed, that one of the problem they investigated metal nanoparticles as fuel cells, electrocatalysts, right? But beyond that, there are engineering problems. So what kind of flow fields a fuel cell should have so that the flow is uniform? At what flow you will have the ideal current, different flow rates and different flow patterns. They do computational fluid dynamics. They will study so many type of fluid patterns and how it has effect on the electrolyzer performance. Then there are so many the component, the membrane, that component you can work on. You can work on very means unending work on each individual components of the fuel cell. So there are electrodes, graphite flow fields, there are current collectors, so multiple problem, there are power supply, so unending. So it goes on and on. So in book we'll give you the whole picture, so we'll have a better knowledge. Another thing which is not written here is journal, conference putting, government reports, books. Another is review articles. Okay, so whatever you are concerned with, a review article will help. It's already reviewed by somebody, so you are getting on the platter what you want, everything. So those are very useful and informative. Review articles are very useful and informative for initiating, means a new work or for people who are going into the PhD program. In this process, it should be remembered that one source will lead to another. Okay, book में reference रहेगा, तो वो reference देखोगे journal. Journal will refer some review article, you will go to that review article. Somebody will refer some conference proceeding, you will go to that conference proceedings, and so on. The earlier studies, if any, which are similar to the study in hand, should be carefully studied. Okay, some you are thinking of doing some work, but in this process you end up that मैं जो सोचा था वो तो already हो गया है, हाँ? So what is how literature survey is help is that a good library will be of great help to the researcher at this stage. So a good library, you have to create it, right? You as an individual, as a researcher, it's your duty to create a good library to um, help yourself only. Okay. Review of literature. Literature review is the documentation of a comprehensive review of the published and unpublished work from secondary sources of data in areas of specific interest to the researcher. So this methodology is general. So published work, we are concerned with only published work, but there are many areas where you get literature. Suppose somebody is doing business review on business, some human behavior, psychology, physiology. So they will concern unpublished work as well. Okay, from secondary sources. The main aim is to find out problems that are already investigated and those that need further investigation. It is an extensive survey of all available past studies relevant to the field of investigation. It gives us knowledge about what others have found out in the related field of study and how they have done. So what others have found out and how they have found out. So that will help you in formulating your research design at the later stage. But they are telling that okay, you are going and presenting in front of the committee. So you will have a idea ki what I am proposing, it is not reported earlier. It is a gap area which will be relevant to this field, and this field is also important. And how I will achieve my desired outcome, that is also help you. This literature survey will help you. So definitely you have to go and do a lot of literature survey. So purpose listed, huh? To gain a background knowledge of the research topic. So to identify the concepts relating to it, potential relationship between them, and to formulate researchable hypotheses. To identify the background knowledge of the research topic. So whatever background, why fuel cells are important. Then the background is that, okay, uh, fuel cells are important because alternative fuels you can use, non-fossil fuel. Then what is the problem in fossil fuel? So those whole background and the backside, what is there, you can identify. Identify the concepts relating to it. So the concept is that again you are doing materials for suppose fuel cells, but that is an electrochemistry application. So the concepts of electrochemistry should be clear to you. Huh? It's one of the in physics also one of the topic. It was mentioned that applications in electrochemistry, right? We was just synthesis, characterization, metal nanostructure. No, another one. Synthesis, characterization, assemble nanostructure for surface enhanced nanoscattering and electrochemistry applications. So you have to understand the basics of electrochemistry. Yeah? So that should also be clear to you. That you can do with the help of you to identify appropriate methodology, research design. So research design, the next step, that research literature review is the prelude to that. Okay. Methods of measuring concepts and techniques of analysis to identify data sources used by other researchers to learn how others structure their reports. So already all of you have done some literature survey. किया है everybody. जो जो MSc में प्रोजेक्ट किया उस टाइम, during that project. So what you did, you based on your literature survey, did you change whatever your guide proposed, or you just followed it, or in what way literature survey helped you? Means, do you think anyone? Yeah. Techniques to be used. So the techniques, yeah, use just is listed here. See what way, the purpose, that is the research methods you will analyze, how you will reach to that. Huh, isn't it? What techniques you use, you cannot tell. As I told you in Spinel, how the distribution is, you will not be able to understand unless you know the techniques. So previously somebody has done, he has also gained knowledge from the earlier publications, right? So this is an ongoing process and you evolve. You get some new knowledge. Any other thing which has helped you earlier in your literature survey? to strengthen your hypothesis. This is very important. Whatever hypothesis you're proposing during introduction, in journal paper only, in introduction, you are proposing something. At the end, last para, is the hypothesis, what you are going to prove it in your observation. So you add a gap area or novel thing, which is not already there. Anything else? So all of you have published something? Huh? Huh? Oh, yes. Life Science is telling us. किसका हो गया है already published one paper. मैंने भी एक publish किया है. So they know the details of how they are publishing. So for publishing also, you have to do a literature survey. For thesis, it is mandatory because thesis is nothing but a combination of your publication. See to it that during your throughout regime, you are doing related work. If you do a proper literature survey, you can identify gap areas. In fact, in the initial stage only, you will come to know properly how I will go ahead. What are the materials I will use, what are the methodologies I will use, all that you will have an idea. कितना लोगों ने पब्लिश किया बोला? मैं एक हूँ और तुम लोग 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 so 10 आपने भी किया है 11 so good. So other people will also start and see publication is one of the important criteria for HBNI PhD also. Okay, so will so each individual publication also you have to write an introduction where you refer to the past papers, the past knowledge which has been. Same thing has to have done in thesis, but for the overall thesis subject, right? Like that. So this is what you have to do. You do a literature survey. Now, what general trend is, then I will tell you. Many people who are doing the PhD thesis topic to mil gaya, जाके काम शुरू कर लिया, without doing literature survey. At the end, you write the introduction. But you try, because these classes will be successful only if you understand and take it in practice. You do literature survey now during your courses. So whenever you are going in lab, you tell your supervisor, मैं रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी करके आया हूँ, मैं आप बता रहा हूँ, this is the what to be done, this is the gap area. Then only this class is useful, right? Otherwise, what I am telling is just the UGC has told me, and I am telling it's not, should not be like that. It should have a practical implication. So you will be enriched, you will do a literature survey properly, and then you will tell your supervisor, these are the gaps, and I want to work on it, and he will be convinced. You are telling right, that is important. So then it will become useful. So benefits. So what we study the purpose, and this is the benefits. Literature review allows us to gain familiarity with the current knowledge. Definitely, this is there. See, many people are telling, sir, I will do something in new topic. I did my project in this topic, but I am getting a project in here. But no worry, you are from chemistry background or physics background, life sciences. You do a literature survey. What you will gain familiarity with that, isn't it? You will become familiar with the new topic as well, and then after 1 year, what you will say, it's better that I have done work here, means in this topic, because I was thinking that I liked that topic, but right now, it's this topic which is more giving me more intellectual satisfaction or more satisfying than my previous one. If you do a proper literature survey, then you will become familiar with that. The gap knowledge, gap areas you will understand, the methods which you will go ahead. So right now you start, and many confusion was there. Concept subject low. It's not any topic you take, any subject you take. You give effort, you do a literature survey, you will become familiar, and then we'll come into research design. You follow those protocols, you will excel. That's simple as that. Literature review also help you to get an understanding of the theories driving the field. So what are the theories which are driving the field, right? Those you will become familiar with, allowing you to place your research question into context. Theories are very important, right? For electrochemistry, if I tell you, because I do it, means we do catalysis. Suppose go into catalysis. So as I tell you, activation energy, the theory, Arrhenius theory, right? You will apply. Arrhenius is a textbook problem, but it's same. Arrhenius theory, as a function of temperature, you find, and you plot K versus 1/T and get what is the activation energy. You vary the catalyst activation energy changes. The lowest activation energy, the best catalyst. Simple. Huh? So this you know. So what are the existing theories in your topic you will come to know. Then you can better understand. Okay. Otherwise, it should not become mechanical. Say, for example, here in electrochemistry, there is a term known as Taffel's law. Anybody has done Taffel's law? No, he has done. So Taffel's law. So lower the Taffel's law, better is the performance, right? So Taffel, there are uh, mechanisms which you can predict from the Tafel slope values, right? Isn't it? So whether that HER is going through which mechanism, Tafel mechanism or Volmer mechanism. So all those theories will become familiar. Huh? Literature review provide an opportunity for you to see and even evaluate successful and unsuccessful assessment and research methods in your field. Huh? So you will literature review, you say you study 10 papers. Huh? You study a review, and out of that you take the references from the review and study and go and study 10 papers you refer, and you study them. Which one is more successful, which one is less successful, you can better judge. Huh? You can say it's a person who was doing electrolyzer, not electrolyzer, fuel cell, direct alcohol fuel cell. He has measured the current of that fuel cell, huh? The current which is coming, or the voltage which he is getting. From that, he can measure, he can tell which one is better from the references itself. So the one which is giving higher, huh, you will come to know the reasons why it is giving higher. One which is giving lower, the reasons for why giving lower. Once you know the reasons, then you can design your work in a better way. Which one will give you higher? Okay. Literature review prevents you from duplicating the same information. So this is another simple thing which all of you understand. ये काम तो already हो गया है, ये नहीं करना है ऐसा. So this is already done. So I will not repeat the same. Literature review give you familiarity with the knowledge in your field, giving you a chance to analyze the significance of additional research. So this I took from somewhere. It's given here instead of the book. Huh? How to conduct literature survey. So I was telling you that I was following that Kothari. So where I have taken from Excel, I am mentioning how to conduct the literature survey. A literature review is a survey of scholarly sources on specific topic. It provides an overview of current knowledge. So what it gives, the current knowledge, you will come to know, allowing you to identify relevant theories, methods, and gap in the existing research. The basic component of literature include a description of the publication, summary of the publication, main points, discussion of gaps, evaluation of publications, contributions. And these are the sources that we mentioned. So different sources: books, journals, electronic databases, government industry reports, internet, and you can get all these research dissertation as thesis. For HBNI, I told you, in the HBNI website itself I took. I was not knowing because we don't follow. We generally go to books and journals mostly, the first one. But even the thesis are available. Whatever you will do, when you are complete with the thesis, you are awarded a degree, your thesis will be published in the HBNI website. You can go and see. So this is what. Primary, secondary sources, they are known as primaries and secondary sources to reviews, treaties, monograph, patents, webs. Critical literature review, identify gaps, areas from literature review, development of working hypothesis. Okay, a good literature review doesn't just summarize sources. So you do a literature review, say 15, 20 papers to read. You cannot read the complete thing. You just go through the graphs and you read it. And the conclusion, abstract, those are important. And you just list it. इसमें ये किया, इसमें ये किया, just list it. What is done? Whatever they have observed. But that observation itself is not sufficient. The reason for the observation is what you have to identify. Okay, a good literature review doesn't just summarize sources. It's not for summarizing. Okay, then what it is for? It analyzes. Right? You have to analyze it. The reason why somebody is getting better, why somebody is getting less, synthesizes and critically evaluates to give a clear picture of the state of knowledge on the subject. Okay, so in some reviews you will they are mentioning critical review. A critical review means what is good and what is bad. Why something is good and why something is bad, that you have to know. Why questioning they call, na? In any problem, even other problems, not only academic problem, if you ask a question why, you will get a better solution. Whatever problem you have right now, क्यों मुझे problem हो रहा है? So that will give you a better answer. So and you will be solution oriented. search the relevant literature, and all these things they are for written. Chemical abstracts, a periodical index that provides numerous tools such as SkyFinder as well as tag keywords. Chemical structured database, those who are doing organic chemistry, na, same, many people are telling organic chemistry, so they have to refer to chemical structured database, chemical abstract. So these are all for chemistry I have mentioned. So, the what you will do, you this is outside the book. So major publication houses that publishes research paper are broadly divided into academic publishers. So there are academic publishers, huh? Elsevier, Wiley, Taylor, Francis, Springer, Nature, these are the names of the publishers, okay, which you will refer to, huh? What are those? Elsevier. So for Elsevier I have mentioned that it is sciencedirect.com, huh? This is for everything, physics, chemistry, biology, all, huh? Everybody will go to sciencedirect.com. For Springer Nature, it is springer.com /in. So in India, so there will get everything: physics, chemistry, biology, engineering. All Springer paper, all Elsevier paper are there in these two sources. Science Direct is for Elsevier journals, Springer for Springer journal, Wiley for Wiley journals. So these are general for everybody. For chemistry, there are American Chemical Society and Royal Society of Chemistry. Huh? These are the two respectable societies. They publish, they have their own publishing house. So they can refer these two as well. So American Chemical Society, Royal Society of Chemistry. This is specific for chemistry. And each journal in these categories, all these are major publishing houses. There are others as well, as Taylor and Francis and others. Uh, but you have to be careful. Don't go into some low reputed journals. Okay. The impact factor of the journal is important. Have you heard of impact factor, right? Huh? A lot of things goes on. So who does this impact factor evaluation? So there is an agency. This is known as Clarivate. Okay. Say every year, so they Clarivate. Clarivate. What they does is that they are an agency um, who studies these journal outputs. So how many from each journal, how many papers are cited by other papers, right? So they create a citation database, statistics only. Huh? So from the citation database, they every year they in around June, suppose in May, June, in the month of June, they take 6 months to just generate this impact factor data. How much impact one journal has? Higher the impact factor, the better the journal, according to Clarivate. Again, I'm telling research model according to this book and impact factor according to Clarivate. So generally say they while presenting thesis will be asked kitna impact factor hai. Once they will ask, so something you have to, there is a numerical, so quantitative and qualitative research, na? So this Clarivate is doing a quantitative research, complete number they are giving for each journal, that okay, this is your impact factor, this is the factor, and this is the number. You know which is the highest impact factor, huh? You find out. And for individuals also, individuals, for individuals, see, I am a researcher, you are a researcher. So once you are going into Google Scholar or you are going to Scopus database, you are publishing an impact, means index. These are on index journal, Scopus index. You are publishing. Then for individuals also, they have mentioned some H index. So persons who are very famous have very high H index, means those are reputed scientists. So what is H index? So this is defined. The H index is an author level metric. It's an author level, each individual author, that quantifies a researcher's productivity and citation impact by measuring the number of their publications that have received at least that many citations. For example, an H index of 15. What does it mean? A researcher has 15 paper with at least 15 citations each. Okay. So this is means that H index 15. Somebody is having 100 means he has 100 paper, each 100 having 100 citations. Huh? Again, there is an I10 index, a matrix introduced by Google Scholar that counts the number of researchers' publications cited at least 10 times. So number of papers which has been cited 10 times, that gives us I10 index. So generally I10 index is more than H index, because H index is I10 index is just 10. Choosing your sources, so you have to be careful while choosing the sources. Huh? You just go and कोई भी journal उठा लिया, कुछ भी internet, chat GPT, AI, हाँ वो सब नहीं करना हाँ so you have to be careful don't ask and chat gpt they will misguide you huh? No, they can guide you also. I should not tell. I cannot comment on AI, which is a emerging field right now. We have a computer science person. Huh? He will guide you about how to get a good AI based research review. So review of your topic. So generally, Google also nowadays you search, giving you initially an AI based output. That for some months, few months they have started that. So choosing your sources is very important. Topical, it has to be topically relevant within scope of your topic. Appropriately aged means uh, you are I am giving an 1850 paper citation that is not correct, right? So it should be that you should be in the recent. You should do research in the recent past. Hmm. So I will share. I can share you that recently we tried to go in a good journal. We communicated a review article. The comment came: the number of papers in the last 2 to 3 years is very less. That is why they rejected. So it's crucial. The last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That is where you have to concentrate. What is the ongoing research? You cannot just do something research which is very long back. Okay, credible. Okay, there is credibility, has it has appropriately published. Find sources that meet your instruction guidelines. Okay, your professors, seniors, librarians as experts you can turn to for advice on how to locate sources. They are a valuable asset to you, so take advantage of them. So you have library, you start doing. Huh? So this is how literature survey helps us, and we will start from next class all these. Again we will repeat. Already it is 4:32. Okay, thank you. Thank